I think because we're the first show to ever have an emoji in it. First of all, so people, I think that throws them a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. I think when you have to try a little harder, that you remember a little more. Like you have to try to go Bob Hart Zabashola. Like what is it called? Bob Hart Zabashola. So I think there might be a little method to the madness in that.
So it's hearts.
Hearts, but it's an emoji. And we're the first show with an emoji, so go figure.
When Mike and Molly ended,
Yes.
did you know this was coming?
No, no idea. Actually, I was so grateful for what happened with Mike and Molly, you know, and the opportunity to work with that lovely cast, you know, and Chuck Lorre, who's been a mentor and a friend and has really changed my life in ways I can't describe. And you know, I was grateful with that. I was like, you know, that's what a gift to have that happen to you once. And then, you know, it was about 3 years we were off the air, and I got a phone call from Mr. Lorre again, and he goes, I think I got something, and I think you're the guy for it. And I was like, I'm in. You know, I would do anything for the guy. I mean, like I said, he changed my life for the better in so many ways, and not just in work, but Chuck's been a good friend to me. And he sent me the script for this, and it was different than Mike, which is what I need to try to do this again, because it's a very short list of people who get to do two. Usually the second time they try, you know, it doesn't last that long and it crashes and burns. And I think sometimes it's because they're playing the same person. So this is a different guy, and it's a very sweet story, which I like. That's the one common thread it has from Mike and Molly. It's very sweet. And I was just humbled that I was asked to do this again. You know what I mean? To get a chance. I'm starting to feel like that Irish guy that keeps getting hit by lightning in the woods. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited about it.
You're getting to do it again, but in many ways, hey, do me a favor. Can we close the door? Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Franco.
Thanks, Franco. You're getting to do it again, but at the same time, it's starting all over.
It is. It is starting all over again. It's like I said. It's a second shot at being one of the leads in a sitcom, which is just ridiculous odds, and I'm very grateful for that. But it is starting over, and with that comes the excitement of building a new character and gelling and having chemistry with a new cast, and then the great thing is, though, like I said, we got Chuck Lorre at the helm with also Al Higgins. Al ran Mike and Molly for many years with Chuck, and he's Chuck's right-hand guy. And Eddie Gordetsky had a big part in creating this, who's been with Chuck for many, many years. And so that team over there, it's kind of like playing for the Yankees. You know what I mean? So it's assembling a new, you know, you got a few new players, but the idea of successful television is in the air with them. So I just kind of trust what they do.
Chemistry with your co-star.
Yeah.
Obviously, you developed an incredible chemistry with Melissa.
I did, yes.
Now you're starting over.
Yes.
And pronounce her name for us.
Falake is her name. Falake. And she is just a lovely human being. And, you know, she really is. She has an inner light, man. And when, you know, she's fun to act with. And when you see the pilot, she jumps off the screen. I think she's going to be a star. She's really, really wonderful. And the supporting cast is lovely as well. But it all comes down to this. It all comes down to, can we be unafraid to trust each other? Because if we're unafraid to trust each other, then we can be vulnerable, we can be funny, we can be sarcastic without hurting each other, and then it becomes real. It becomes something that people watch and go, I would hang out with those people, or I know those people. So the test to me really is, one, great writing, which we know we have. The second thing is trust, and this cast has that. And so I have that with Falake. That happened pretty easy and pretty naturally, just like it did with Melissa. So I believe this has a very good shot.
Now, Nurse Abashola, initially, at least from the pilot, is like very skeptical of you.
Yes, well, the premise is I'm a guy, and I own a compression sock factory in Detroit.
Oh, sure you are.
I don't know how Chuck comes up with this stuff. So I guess from the stress of my family and the job, I have a heart attack, and I have 3 stents put in. And when I wake, my nurse is there, and it's Abashola, and she is from Nigeria, and they could not be two people from more different backgrounds, but there's something about her. And I think maybe the combination of, you know, having a near-death experience, maybe sometimes you want to take a chance where you were afraid to before. And I think there's a little bit of that, and that's very sweet. And there's something about her that's sweet and strong and funny, and she's also a hard-working immigrant in this country, which we don't see enough of. We don't see that highlighted enough. And there's just something about her that he decides, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I can to see if I can get this woman to just give me a chance. And that's what the first season is about, just him trying to get her to give him a chance. And she doesn't think she has time for love because she's working, she's got a son she's raising, and she wants to build a life for them here. And the show is in no way preachy. It's just built on love, kindness, and humor, which is a message I think we really need right now. We need kindness. There's no empathy in the air anymore. Everybody is right at all costs. So here is something that can be fun, funny, heartfelt, and kind. And I think there's always an audience for that.
What are the demands like of shooting a series like this?
The demands of shooting a series like this, I don't consider them demands. I mean, I consider it a gift.
What are the opportunities of shooting?
Opportunities I'll give you. Well, I love it. I mean, it's like, look, I tell my son all the time, the secret to life is finding something that you love to do and then figuring out a way to get paid for it. Then you never work a day in your life. So I don't look at it like it's this grueling, blah, blah. Yeah, we have long days and long hours sometimes, but man, it's such a gift to be doing what I dreamt about doing. This is what I was doing when I was 9 on Harrison Avenue. You know, we were there used to be a 70s show called SWAT, and me and 3 of my buddies, like our porch was headquarters, and you know, we had sticks for guns, and we had a mission, and that's all I'm doing. Don't tell nobody, but that's all I'm doing.
And you're getting paid for it.
I'm getting paid for it, yeah.
It's the grown-up version of the front porch.
Exactly right, man, exactly. And I think it's a real gift to me to be able to do this.
Now, from a standpoint, you're still doing your stand-up, and I looked at your tour schedule, and it's like out 2 days, looks like you're back home.
Yeah.
Out 2 days. Is that deliberate?
That is deliberate. I slowed my touring down, especially this part of my son's life. My son is now 16, and I think it's real important that I'm around as much as I can be. And so the touring, you know, I don't get as much excitement from stand-up as I do from acting these days. I've really started to love acting a little more than stand-up. Stand-up I will always respect because it brought me to the dance. But the touring, the being away, like the hour on stage as a stand-up is like nothing else. But the being away from my family, the being away from my son, that's just not where I want to be right now. So when I do go out, I go out for 2 nights, I come right back home, and that's fine. That's enough, because on the weekends, you know, my son's 16, he wants nothing to do with me on the weekends. He's always at his buddy's house, or they're always doing something. But Monday through Thursday, I like being in the house. I like knowing that if there's, you know, if there's a school event, that I get to go to it. If there's if there's homework, his mother can help him with his homework. But I can talk to him about work ethic. Look, I never made it to college. The closest I got to college, I drove by one once. That's about it. But I can talk to him about a work ethic. So we're a good balance for him. And I think having that balance for him is going to help him excel. And he still has to make his own choices and make his own way. But I think when you got a dad saying you got to put aside fun to do your work first, and you got a mom helping explain some of the work when he gets stuck, and then there's that part where you have to go, you got to figure it out. But I like being present for those things. Like the first 2 years of my son's life, I was on the road 40 weeks a year. And my poor wife, you know, I was home 2 days a week. My poor wife was doing that job all by herself. So, and she's a rock star in my eyes. But now that he's 16, you know, we're getting in 17, 18, the last 2 years of high school, I think it's important for me to be there for him. Like, you know, my dad, my parents got divorced, but I was on the phone with my father every night. You know, my dad passed in September to lung cancer, but I hear him every day. If I have a thought and I'm not sure how to navigate it, I hear his voice, and I'm hoping to give that to my son.
Speaking of navigating.
That's a long answer, sorry about that.
Great answer. Speaking of navigating, 16, driving.
Yeah. Well, the driving thing, I'm grateful that he wants to, but it's not top on his list. It's a different generation for these kids.
Really?
Well, one, he lives in the second biggest city in the world, or in the country. So the driving out there is not like, you know, you're going to the store and back and there's no traffic. I mean, it's jammed out there, and it's tense. And a lot of him and his friends, they want to Uber, they want to Lyft, and a lot of parents let them do that because it's cheaper than car insurance. But I'm glad he has a little urge to drive because I want him to have that experience. But we're going to get the license, I think, this summer. But he's not in a hurry like we were. Because when I was 16, I was at the DMV that day because I knew that's freedom. I had a $300 AMC wagon that I'd saved up for, and I knew if I could put 4 guys in it, we'd have $5 worth of gas, and we could go out and do some stuff. But you got to remember too, it was about connectivity. Now they don't have to leave the house to be connected. Sometimes I'll go in his room and say, "What are you doing?" He's online, and there's 4 guys online. They're playing a game. Like, you don't have to walk over. Is Frank there? Can he come out and play? Those days are gone, man. So they connect in a different way than we do. So I think that's why it kind of takes the onus off that independence. It's just easier for them to connect.
Have you actually been in the car driving with him?
Well, I got in trouble with my wife because apparently there's a rule in California and it's because it's so packed. They have stricter driving rules, which I think is smart. Like, they have to take a written test before you can put them behind the wheel to even start practicing. They have to have their permit. And, from Swissville, so we were down at the college. Like, get behind the wheel, you're all right. So, but he did pretty good.
He didn't put you through the windshield?
No, he did pretty good, man. He had the same hesitations we all have, a little too jerky when we were stopping, but he started to get it, and then she yelled at us, and we have to do things the right way, which is my wife's job in my life.
You guys have been together since what?
Patty and I, 2000. We got married in 2000. 2000. My son was born in 2001. We got married. We met in '99. My son was born in 2003. So we're going to celebrate 18 years of marriage in September, which is, I think, 144 in Los Angeles years, and we're going to be 20 years together. And it's funny because when we met, within 6 months we moved in together, and people said that's too soon. And then we got married a year and a half later, and people said that's too soon. Then we had a baby a year later, and they said that's too soon. We're the only ones that are still married, so maybe we knew something.
You figured something out.
I don't know, man. I've tried to listen to her, and the more I listen to her, it seems the easier my life gets.
Are you still in training?
No, I'm getting pretty good now. I did, it's funny because marriage is in cycles. I think love in marriage changes. At the beginning, it's that euphoric feeling, and that's your foundation. And I think each marriage suffers a little bit. I don't know if it's around the 8 or 10 year mark, and because you know everything about each other, you've done everything together, you've pushed each other's buttons, you've told each other's story, you've talked about everything. So then you have to decide about your commitment. And if you come out the other side of that, you realize that you have a partner for life, which is what I have. So these days, man, I take great joy in being lame, because I find there's no trouble in that. If she wants to go to the grocery store and find one of those apple things that you push down and it slices, I'm like, sure, honey, what color you want? Let's go. And the other side of that is, I try to look at it these days as payment, because she let it be about me for so very long so that I could succeed, that she is due this time. That's how I feel about it.
Chuck Lorre and company may have done you a favor in already aging Bob to the age of 50. But you're knocking on the door here.
I am. I'm right at the door, brother. I'm at first and goal. 5-0. 5-0. Look, that's the over. I hit the over. I didn't think I was going that far. So to be coming in on 50 and to be starting a role where you're playing a guy that's 50 is just, it's ridiculous. My last demon to put down now is the weight. That's my next. I'm down 30 pounds so far this year. I'm really trying to get it under control this year, because you can't outrun numbers. Your numbers start creeping. My dad blessed me with good genetics. I've always had good blood numbers. But you can't outrun that. Eventually your sugars start creeping, your cholesterol starts, you can't, and your joints, you can't outrun it. So I don't have a lot of woe is me about my weight my whole life. I don't. I'm a big guy, I've been a big guy my whole life. But I now know that this is like the last one I got to put down. I quit drinking about 11 years ago, quit smoking a couple years ago. So cheeseburgers are that's my last conquer. So once I can get that under control, I'm hoping that'll lead to a place where when I do finally put everything down and retire, that me and my wife will be as healthy as we can be, and we can travel and then go bother my kid.
You're not going to give up Romani sandwiches, are you?
Well, when I come home to Pittsburgh, that's kind of a gray area. There's a few Permani. I got to hit a Permani's. I got to hit a Rudy Marino's. You know, I got to get a Fiore's for pizza. You know, Veltri's for pizza. My wife knows if I come to Pittsburgh, all bets are off for a couple days because I can't get that stuff out in LA.
Well, there are no calories once you come through Pittsburgh International Airport.
Right, that's what I say. It's all fat free the minute you hit the ground here.
From that standpoint, when you come home to Pittsburgh,
yes.
I mean, you haven't lived here in a number of years.
Right.
Are there still a lot of people that you connect with, touch base with?
Well, first, I haven't been in Pittsburgh. I haven't lived here for 25 years, but Pittsburgh's right here. And I always tell my son, when you walk outside that door, it's Los Angeles. You come home, you shut that door, it's Pittsburgh in here. All the things that I think are decent about me, I learned from my father. And my dad took great pride in being a Pittsburgher. Do what you mean what you say, show up, be accountable, don't judge. Judge by character if you have to. Those things I hold with me everywhere I go. And my work ethic that I learned in Pittsburgh gets me a little emotional. I mean, this city is, it's who I am. It's who my humor is. You know, it's funny because I love our sarcasm here because, you know, we can tell you the truth without hurting your feelings. Like if my dad wanted you to shave, like he'd walk by and he'd go, you need to stand a little closer to that razor. You're not quite hitting it, you know what I mean? But it didn't hurt. Like, so there's something about the truth without love is abuse. So when you can give somebody a truth but put a little funny spin on it, you're able to accept that a little easier. And I think that that's a healthy way to get through things.
Sorry you lost your dad last
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I can see that it's not easy not to be able to pick up the phone.
You know, that's the thing. My dad was, he was my North Star, you know. It didn't matter what I was going through. I could call him and talk to him about anything. And it wasn't just a simple two-word conversation. Like, we would get in the war room together, and he gave me great perspective. And that's what I'm trying, like I said, I hear him. I still hear him. That's how much of an impact he had. If I really think about it, he's right there. And so I'm trying to give that freedom to my son too. Like I tell him all the time, like math, English, science, manners, that's your mother. You really need to know about life or how to handle something. If you'll tell me, if you'll trust me and tell me, then I will tell you my honest truth. And one thing I learned from my father was not to explode at my child. You know, sometimes kids want to come tell you something that's troubling them or they did wrong. And if your first reaction is, ah! They're never going to tell you anything ever again in your life. But if they come to you and say, I really got to talk to you about something, and you go, okay, let's map it out, let's lay it out, tell the truth, and I'm going to give you a truthful answer. I think that's a stronger relationship.
Now, your son's name's William, but what do you call him?
Will.
Will, okay.
Yeah.
Grandson.
Will the Thrill.
Who does Will follow sports-wise?
He's not a big sports guy. He's a music and he loves acting and he wants to be an actor, which I think is fantastic because we bond over that and we bond over music. He likes baseball a little bit, and you know, I think I can get him to watch a little football once in a while with me because he understands that the Steelers are, that's more than just a football game. That's a family day. That's how we bond together, you know, and that's something that was always in my house growing up. Of course, it was Pirates, Penguins, Steelers. There's no choice, but he was born in Los Angeles. So he was like, Dad, I'd like to have one LA team.
Please.
And I said, okay, that's fair. You were born here. I said, here's the deal though. The Steelers are not negotiable. I said, you can pick the Dodgers or the Kings. So he picked the Dodgers. So that's it. He'll watch we'll go to a Dodger game once in a while, but he's not a big sports guy. He loves doing theater and he loves music, and you know, he's a very creative type, and I love that. I love being able to encourage that for him. You know what I mean? Because what am I going to tell him? It's not going to work out. You know, I told him, look, if you're in this because you love it enough to make the rent, then you're doing it for the right reason. I go, what happened to me is there's a lot of luck. That's part of this business, part of this journey. You can be talented and you can work hard and have a lot of talent and never make it. And that's just the truth of the game. You have to have a little bit of luck at the casino. So if you're going into it thinking, oh, it's just going to work out the way it worked out for me, I go, that's the wrong reason. But if you're going into it because you just love it and you want to figure out a way to do this and pay your rent, I'm all for it.
There's a couple different ways I want to go. I want to quickly go back to your weight for a second.
Sure.
You're looking great, though.
I'm working on it. Killing me.
And it's obvious.
It's a good thing I'm only in town for 48 hours this trip. That's all I'm saying. I can undo 3 weeks of work in 3 days in Pittsburgh.
Do you believe that your weight and Melissa's weight helped make Mike and Molly a success because it appealed to the non-skinny people of the United States?
Yeah, I think the weight. The way these characters were written, they just happened to be heavy. And I don't think we had seen that on television, and certainly not the focus. And at the end of the day, that was just the thing they were struggling with. But at the end of the day, Mike and Molly was built on, two people that found love. And that's easy to root for. And their journey and their struggle happened to be the same, which made you root for them even more. And I think it was refreshing. I mean, look, I'm not saying you should be big and fat. It's hard. It's hard work when you're overweight. And it's a lot, skinny people love to tell you how to lose weight. That's my favorite thing. Skinny people know all the answers because they've never struggled with it. There doesn't happen to be the struggle in their life. But I think seeing two people that were heavy on TV, I think it helped people who do struggle with that go, wow, we're actually being seen on TV. How about that? And then the other part of that was, we had a wonderful, crazy group of friends and family around us, which is what I think everybody could identify with. Because there's always two people struggling, and then there's 2 people, 4 people telling you how to get through that have never been through it. So I think that makes for a real life experience. But I think seeing us on TV, I think a lot of people felt like, wow, man, they look like people that I know in Chicago, or I know in St. Louis, or I know in Atlanta. They look like people that are doing the best they can. They're good people. This happens to be their struggle.
Back to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Let's start with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Obviously, a deep love for the Steelers.
Deep love.
Your reaction to all this Antonio Brown, Bell stuff.
Here's where I'm at with the Antonio Brown and Bell stuff. People always go, what do you think about all that? I go, you know what, here's what I think. I got a couple thoughts. First thought is, I'm rooting for the 55 guys that start in September. You're with us or you're not. And if you're not, I don't want you with us. I'm just that cut and dry about it. I think that's probably my dad speaking. You probably just heard his voice. You don't want to be here? Then go. And I think there's something to that. And here's my other thing, man. Maybe it's a little vindictive, but I think it's going to be kind of funny to watch Antonio Brown react when the Raiders are about 3-6. I think I'm probably going to enjoy that a little bit, and I don't see Bell running as hard or getting as many yards up in New York as he would have here. I think something happens to players in Pittsburgh too, especially this was really evident during the Bill Cowher era. We get a guy to play above his head, and I think it's the connection of the city to the team. Like, there's an expectation here, and you're not gonna be the one that tarnishes that. I'm not so sure once you leave here that you take that same energy with you. I'm just not so sure that happens.
Pirates, have you noticed?
Bacos, they're killing me. They're just killing me. Last year, you're gonna be sorry you asked this. No, last year we can't score a run. This year we score 5 and we still can't win. So the defense needs work. Our fielding needs work. You know, we look like we're out drinking the night before some nights. And middle relief, we have no middle relief. But the bats have woken up. There's a lot of players that I do like on the team. And you know, I'm a diehard. I watch them. They torture me, you know. You give up like a 5-run 8th and you're like, well, we got 3 more outs. Maybe in the 9th we can, and you know, but I stick with them. You know, I think, what did we won last night in the 9th, which was nice, 3-2. And I think we got we're 3.5 back right now, and we're almost in last place, which says the whole division's struggling a little bit. So it's still within reach. If we're near anywhere near the top of the division 3, 4, 5 games back by July, the All-Star break's coming, that's a little bit of hope I can work into a delusion. You know what I mean?
You can work with that.
Of course, my son walks by me and goes, Dodgers have won 56. I'm like, wonderful, son. That's just wonderful.
Brings it back down. Well, speaking of the Pirates, Garth Brooks was in training camp with them down in Bradenton.
Well,
How
that
about
guy,
Billy Gardell in the locker room?
I think I could probably give the pregame speech, but I'm not so sure I could go out on the field. Garth Brooks can actually swing a baseball bat. I mean, that guy's actually hit a ball a couple times out of a major league park. I think he may have played or something. I played over in Swissville. I'm not so sure they'd have me on the field, but I think I could give the pregame speech. I mean, who doesn't like a heavy-set coach with red cheeks going, "You lollygag"? I could do that.
Do you ever get around these guys? I mean, do you ever have the opportunity to
What do you
hang
mean?
out at the arena and see Sidney Crosby?
You know what?
I
I was very lucky. I did a benefit for the Mario Lemieux Foundation years ago. I got to meet Mario, he's such a kind man, and I've been able to take some tours of the Penguins facility, and then the Steelers have been incredibly kind to me. I've been able to be on the sideline and do the terrible towel twirl. And because of that, I actually struck up a friendship with Franco Harris, and I've gotten to talk and hang with Ben a couple times. And see, Rocky Blyer, I got to meet, and I got to meet Mel Blount, and I got to meet Bettis. So I mean, for a kid from Harrison Avenue to walk down on that sideline. I mean, we used to go to Three Rivers with my dad, and he would buy one hoagie, and he would cut it into 4 things, and he'd wrap them in foil, and he'd go, "Put that in your pocket. You eat that in the third quarter." We weren't getting we were up in the nosebleeds. So to be down on the field doing that, I mean, that's a Pittsburgher's dream.
And to think that those guys are saying, "Hey, I was hanging with Billy Gardell."
I'm not sure they said that. Actually, Bettis knew the show really well. I have to give it, Jerome knew the show very well. He was really cool. And then I got to tell you, my biggest joy has been getting to meet Bill Cowher. I met him on the CBS pregame show, and I did that with him a couple times. And I just saw him again in New York City for the upfronts, and he's just always been so cool. And I was really nervous to meet him the first time because I loved him, and I'm just like, oh, please, be a good guy, be a good guy. And he's just wonderful, man. He's just such a good, energetic light. And you just feel that guy's presence, man. You just feel his presence when he walks in a room, but couldn't be kinder. Yeah, so that was probably my biggest honor, Steelers-wise, I think.
What do you think of Ben? He's been taking some heat.
About what?
Well, some of the, with Antonio and Bell and others have been saying he acts like an owner and that kind of stuff.
I don't know what is said, but I know the quarterback has to be the captain of the team, and with that comes, you're going to get some criticism, but I don't know, man. He's delivered for us for a lot of years, so you got to keep the chemistry right, and you have to choose those things, and that's for the Rooneys to decide.
All right, so you told us the restaurants you have to hit when you come to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Beyond the restaurants, anything else?
I just like to hang with my buddy Frank, and we grew up together, and sometimes I see a couple other of my close friends, and my buddy Joey O'Connell, who opens for me as my stand-in and does my dialogue coaching out in L.A. He's from Penn Hills. He didn't get to come with me this particular trip, but we like to come home. I like to be around the guys that helped shape me and the guys that I grew up with, that imagination started with. And I feel very honored to still have a very close relationship with them all these years later.
2 other names that you are now the third name in this group.
All right.
Dennis Miller.
Okay.
Michael Keaton.
Right.
Billy Gardell.
Whoa. I don't know. I don't know if I'm up there yet. Am I up there?
Oh, I think you're up there.
I think if this one goes, I'll get up there. I need my second ring. I take, like I said, I just take great pride being from Pittsburgh, and I like to return here, and I try not to embarrass the city. So that's what I keep in my heart while I'm out there.